And this particular project around family and domestic violence is a very important topic. I find that family and domestic violence is actually, it's the fallout of everything else that has happened. And so therefore we have to look at these things holistically, not just family and domestic violence. It's about the whole thing. It's about how did we get to that point. And this project in particular is not just about how did we get to that point, but it's how do we stop that point in the first place.
There's a woman out there that's going to hear my story and that will connect for her. There's a woman out here who probably has felt left out of most, conversations around DV or any campaign we have had, and she's like, that's not for me because that person's story is quite different. And so every time I decide I want to be part of a project, what I think of is, it's not just about my story, it's the impact my story will have, and do I want to deny somebody the opportunity of seeing themselves reflected? So whether that's an African woman, whether that's a refugee who's come across the world for safety in Australia like my family did, or whether it's a migrant that's come to Australia for a better life, whether it's a young woman who's just trying to figure it out, whatever people's identity is, people want to see themselves reflected and their story or their experiences. So the reason I want to be part of this project, the reason I've decided to cross the professional line to get to the personal line, is because humans don't fit into just little boxes. We're more than the boxes that people have created for us. I am both a survivor and a professional, so it's only fitting that in this role, I'm able to actually use both of them to really make a difference.
So this project is part of a broader strategy that we've been engaged to do as part of the local government domestic violence toolkit trial. So that toolkit trial is currently happening across 5 areas across Australia. We're the only South Australian participant. And so the toolkit is basically a way of local government engaging with their local communities in domestic and family violence prevention and awareness raising. So our role is not to do casework, it's not to work one-on-one with those affected, but it is to raise awareness in the community so that the whole community can feel stronger in saying no to domestic and family violence, and also feeling a little bit empowered to know what to do should they see it happening in with people that they know or out in the general public spaces and things. So that's it in a nutshell. So this particular project, which I thought up, was called Act of Love. So the Act of Love is that the portrait which will be taken of you two will be given to you, and that's the act of love.
I'm in this project hoping that I will turn violence into love.
One of the things I think portraits can do is they can create a respectful space of reflection. I think it's really important to raise this issue now, loudly, clearly, gently and sensitively.
I'm an Aboriginal elder and I bond people, visitors together and with respect and love.
My name's Julia Mayman, and I'm here because I work in an Aboriginal community out remote in the Northern Territory. And I think it's really important to raise awareness about domestic violence.
My name is Abdullah. I'm originally from Sudan. I'm using acrylic and I'm accustomed to it. Issues should be discussed very honestly, and no things to be hidden. My friend Angelo, I think he will be proud to have his portrait done by me.
My name is Cassie Sacado. I'm 29 years old and I'm a local Adelaide artist. So it interested me to be a part of something as a group. Obviously I work a lot by myself doing my own art and commission work. So to do something as a project with a group of people and on an issue as important as domestic violence definitely appealed to me. We obviously have 12 people here who have come forward and have shared their story, put themselves out there to everyone in the community. And yeah, I really just hope it inspires people to share their story if they are holding in something that they would like to share.
My name is Meredith Russell, and I'm a practicing artist. It's a little bit unique in my case because it is my own daughter, which is a little bit different from the others who are doing somebody they hadn't met before. I think both work very well, actually. This particular portrait I'm using acrylic, and I always like to work a lot of the time with the sitter there so that I get the relationship of myself and the sitter and also their essence into the portrait.
We should be able to, as a society, we should be able to identify what I guess domestic violence is. There are many different forms and shapes of domestic violence.
Yeah.
And I think for us as individuals, certain organisations, especially local government, does play a role in bringing this issue into the public conversation.
I want very much to be a part of this project so that children don't have to suffer as we suffered when we were children.
Having had a personal experience now of domestic violence through my daughter, I'm just so happy that this council is putting it out there.
Yeah.
I'm from Nuba Mountain, South Sudanese. I've been living in Australia now for 10 years.
It was hearing someone else's story about domestic and family violence that made me realise that something was not just wrong, it was very wrong, and that I was able to do something about it.
And we tell our kids now to follow their dreams. I had no dreams, I had to get through that day and get through the weekend. Yeah.
It just has a rollover effect in your life. Even 7 years out from it, it continues to affect me financially. I'm a sole parent now, so I'm looking after 4 young children on my own.
She told me, was copy, all my body and my exercise book, all, and I mean, that start first. I say, why? I said, why? Throw me was coffee, why?
Yeah.
Even my son near to me, sit in the chair, after he ran away. From this time, this is a start violence. Start fight with me. I said, I don't want to fight. I didn't came to this country to fight.
We go on the party with the children, ex-partner. Then I talk to some people. Then my ex-partner come hit me, say no one can talk you, just me. I give you the permission to talk to someone. So the life continue like that. At home, abuse the children, abuse me. Living about 2 years, nothing can do. Then after that, when 2 years finish, the government sent me the letter about the permanent residence. Then he refused to sign. He say, you can go back. I live here with the children. Me, no you, just I don't. You go back in Africa.
And I was in a mindset of like, whatever it takes to save the marriage. And the more I said that, the worse it got. But it's the frog in a pot kind of phenomenon, that when you're there every day and you wake up and you're living in an experience and you come home and you come back to that experience, is just the most awful stuff that you never thought that you would have put up with. Just becomes normalised. And finally I just found that I looked in the mirror and I couldn't recognise myself.
Well, it really hasn't affected me. In my own family, but I've seen it around me, and it's something that I don't like. You know, I'm a very passionate person and a loving person, and that really hurts me. And so, if I can help women to be strong and stand up and have a voice, you know, if I can do that, I'd be happy to do that for them.
So Vesna, we talk a lot about bystander, what people can do when they observe a behavior that's disrespectful, abusive. There you were in trouble, your partner is abusing you out in the public, your child is unsafe, there's traffic, and nobody did anything to help you.
It was really shocking and it was really eye-opening. And I think that's when I really felt that, wow, you know, family and domestic violence is invisible in this country. Is it invisible? Is it acceptable? What is it? Why is it that nobody, are they frightened that they're going to get hurt themselves? Why are they just, it wasn't even the fact that they didn't do anything, it was the fact that they deliberately made it look like I wasn't there. Everybody's a bystander. Everybody will see something in their life that they're not going to like about somebody doing something to somebody else. And at the end of the day, if you're there, you're actually involved.
So I have a daughter now who's almost 19 and she attends university. I tell her she can say no. You can say no. Say it's a life skill. You don't have to add I'm sorry. You don't have to add I'd like to please you by saying yes. You can say no. I'd like to help you, but at this time I can't.
You know, as traumatic as it sometimes is to relive those memories, the amount of good that's come out of it has been, has been great.
Now, having gone through everything I've gone through, I think the biggest thing would be boundaries. Learning that boundaries are appropriate and important, and that you're not to blame for someone else's behaviour, that you can't control anyone else's behaviour. My violent ex, it would be cyclical, this violence, and then he would look to me for help and I had to be the strong one. It sounds so weird, but it didn't matter how broken you got, there was always this pressure to perform.
So Rhiannon, in everybody's situation, I guess there's always a turning point where you realise what's going on and what you're going to do. So what was your turning point?
When I was down for my birthday, I said to him, like, this has got to stop. I've told Dad. And I said, Dad's like, he knows, he's told family, so if anything happens to me, something's probably going to happen to you. So he didn't lay a finger on me. He was like a blessing in disguise for a week, and I just knew it was fake because he would give me this look and I just knew. And then one morning, I think about a week later, he gave me this look and I thought, today's the day I'm going to die. I've got to get out of here.
We hear a lot, Christy, people go, you need to stay for the kids. The kids need their mom and their dad. They need two people in a home. What do you say to that?
I say that it's healthier for children to be out of a violent environment, definitely. You have these hopes and dreams of having a family that's stuck together, which is one of the reasons why women stay and one of the reasons why I stayed. But when you are out of the situation, you can actually see how much it affects children. Even if you think that they're not hearing and seeing it, they're actually being affected by it in so many ways.
I have learned that it is okay for me to have high standard of what I expect from the people around me or even my romantic partner, and that not to settle. Respect should always be part of every relationship, and it's absolutely okay for me to walk away if that's not on the table.
I know I'm learning what behaviour is acceptable or what I deserve. You know, it's really about learning that you deserve to be treated with respect.
I wish I knew the simple things like the controlling behaviour, like the manipulative behaviour, the emotional, psychological, physical abuse sometimes leads to murder. I wish I knew that. I want the community to know that this problem happens to a lot of people. I want the community to know that it's okay for them to speak up. I want the community to know that if they need help, the help is there, the assistance is there. But they're the ones who need to take the first step.
Yeah, I'm a good place because now maybe when I come this place, yes, domestic violence, before I was thinking nothing I can do, nothing in this country. So, but now I know everything I need I can do.
You can do, yes.
Yeah, and yeah.
I think we're putting so much focus on victims, we don't actually talk about why people are choosing to be abusive and controlling. Because we know there are people out there, men, good men, who choose not to be like that every single day. I think our community needs to know that domestic and family violence doesn't happen accidentally. It's a choice. It's a choice to control somebody. It's a choice to do it every day. It's hard work to keep track of somebody, to constantly come up with ways to disrespect them, to manipulate them, to make them feel as low as possible so you feel good about yourself. But finally, I think as a community, we're all saying enough is enough. And we all better get on board, or the train is going to keep moving. Because we're not going backwards. We're not going back to the silence. We're not going back to the shame. We are going to change our families and communities.
We sang a verse of a song that we sang in the good old days. And it goes like, don't be too polite, girls. Don't be too polite. Show a little fight, girls. Show a little fight. Don't be fearful of offending in case you get the sack. Just recognize your value and you won't look back. Domestic violence is a killer, really. And violence as a whole doesn't make you happy. It just destroys you. And the women that suffer in violence, that die next door to you and you don't even know. I know that the women at the house next door to us must have heard us scream as children, but nobody talked about it. Nobody recognized it, and we thought it was only us, and then we thought it was our fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.